Hi friends, this is Angelica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a pretty big project to share with you. We're going to be putting together this really cute cupcake box, and then we're going to make a gift box for it, wrap it up, and then add some paper accessories using products from the Greetery. We're going to make the cupcakes using the Greetery's Cupcake Die. This is a 14-piece die set that has everything you need to make the most adorable paper cupcakes. I've already die cut white cardstock with most of the dies in the set, and I'm going to ink the paper with Distress Oxide inks. Now, this first piece that I am coloring, this is the cupcake holder, and I did color all of the cupcake holders with the Distress Oxide tea dye ink. The second biggest circle in the die set is the cupcake itself, and there are a couple detail, like little circle indents that a cupcake would have when you pull it out of the oven. So I just did a variety of colors for the 4 cupcakes that I am putting into this cupcake box. There are 3 dies that make the frosting for the cupcake, 3 different types of frosting. So you have more of a flat frosting and then 2 swirly frostings. I did use the flat frosting for this cupcake. And I'm going to decorate the frosting with a chocolate swirl and a little flower I inked yellow. There are several accessory dies in this set you can decorate the cupcakes with. There's a strawberry, a little, it could be a cracker or chocolate. There's a cherry. There's leaves. There is another really cute flower in the set. The options are endless. I'm going to use the strawberry and the cracker to decorate the last cupcake, and I just pulled out some sponges that already have ink on them. I'm not going to worry about re-inking the sponges. The strawberry, I picked a yellow-green to start with, so that would be a highlighted area. And then I picked a dark red and blended that out with a lighter red into the yellow-green. And for the top, I just added green ink to the top and added a little glue and attached it to the strawberry. The cracker was inked with some brown ink, and I used a little bit of glue to attach them to the cupcake. Moving on to the box, I'm going to use the Greetery's window dressing dotted Scallops die to die cut a window in the box. So I have a piece of cardstock here. It's 6 inch by 6 1/4 inch, and I'm going to score on the 1/2 inch line on every side of this panel. Next, I'm going to put the window dressing die in the middle of those scored lines. I'm going to use my 0 center ruler to make sure I have that die in the center. I'll run it through my die cut machine, and that will die cut a really sweet window. Now, I do have the window in my hand. I'm putting it on an A2 card base, so you can see the size that it is if you want to use the die cut window on a card. For the box top, we're going to close that window, and I'm adding 1/8 inch score tape around the window, and I'm going to expose the adhesive and add a piece of acetate over the adhesive. And this is really easy to do. I'm not going to cut the acetate piece down to size because this is pretty much a scrap piece. I'm going to use my detail scissors to quickly snip the excess off, and then I'm going to fold the scored lines and start putting the box top together. I am using Neenah's Solar White 110-pound cardstock. This is the thicker cardstock, so I am going to reinforce those scored lines with my bone folder. And then I'm going to pull out my detail scissors again and put a snip on each corner of the box, so I will be able to fold the corners in together just to make that box top. I'll add some more score tape to the tabs that I just snipped, and score tape's just a really, really strong double-sided adhesive. If you want to use glue, you can. I tend to stay away from using complete wet adhesive when I'm assembling boxes like this. The dry adhesive just holds better and it keeps the box a bit more sturdy. Okay, we're going to repeat the process again for the bottom of the box, except this time we need the box bottom to be just slightly smaller than the top of the box. So I have a 6 by 6 1/4 inch panel, and I am going to take 1/16 inch off of 2 of those sides. I'm going to score at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides and then reinforce those scored lines with my bone folder. Use the detail scissors to snip the tabs and add adhesive and put the box bottom together. Now it's time to see if we did the box bottom correctly. I'm going to put the top on. It does have a really nice snug fit, which is exactly what we want. And now it's time to fill the box. So I picked pattern paper to have the cupcake sit on, a really cute white polka dot on red pattern paper. I added adhesive to the back of it. I'm going to slide that right into the box. I used regular size foam squares to attach the cupcakes to the box. I'm going to cover the box, and then now we're going to move on to making a label for the box. We're going to use the Sweet and Fancy label stamp set to make our label, and we're going to use the Sweet and Fancy label die to die cut the label. There's also, as you can see, a Sweet and Fancy label hot foil, but I'm not going to use that today. I want to keep this really matte since I used Distress Oxides on the cupcakes, and the Distress Oxides give a really chalky finish. So I want to just keep that theme going. So I'm going to stamp the label with Distress Oxide ink. I put the negative of my die cut on a sticky pad in my mini MISTI, and I lined up the outline for the label, the outline stamp, and I stamped it first with Vintage Photo, but I wanted it to be a bit darker, so I pulled out ground espresso ink to stamp with, and then I moved on to my other MISTI and made another negative, and I pulled a couple words from the stamp set, lined them up, and then stamped them onto the label using the same inks. I did start with Vintage Photo and then did the last layer with ground espresso. And then I'm going to attach the label to the box using thin foam squares. Now this box can be left just as it is now, or I wanted it to be able to sit up. Whoever I give this to, I want them to be able to like set it up on their desk if they want to. So I'm going to put a hinge on the back. I have 2 pieces of paper here that I put a 1/2 inch score line on. I'm going to fold on the scored lines, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to really enforce those scored lines before I attach the pieces to the back of the box. And I'm also going to add a small strip of paper to the smaller flap. This is the same cardstock I made the box out of. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to it, attach it to the flap, trim the edges, and then I'm going to glue a second layer so it does have a little bit of height to it. And what this is going to be the stopper, which will make more sense when I put it onto the box. So I will trim the edge one more time. I'm going to add adhesive to the flaps and then attach. The biggest hinge is going to go about halfway to the top of the box. I want the bottom of that to be almost at the bottom of the box, and then the smaller hinge will go under it, and that stopper that that I glued onto it is what's going to keep the bigger hinge from sliding out from under the box. See, it just did that because I didn't have it on the smaller hinge, so that now it has a really good slant to it. It's going to look fantastic on, a table or a desk or wherever the ending spot for it is going to be. Now we're going to move on to making a box for the cupcake box. So I have pink cardstock. It is 7.5 by 7 3/4 size. I am scoring at 1 inch on all 4 sides. I'm going to be doing the same steps as I did with the white box, using my bone folder to really enforce those scored lines. I'll use scissors to cut the tabs and then add adhesive to the tabs and fold the tabs into the sides to form the box. So while I'm making this box, I'm going to quickly explain how I got the measurement for the pink box. So the size of the cupcake box is 5¼ by 5½. I wanted the pink box to have a little bit more room in it, so I added 1/4 inch to each of those measurements. So it came up to 5½ by 5¾ and then I wanted the box to have 1-inch walls, and I needed 2 walls on each of those measurements, so I added 2 inches to each side, so then it came up to 7½ by 7¾ I scored the 1-inch line on all 4 sides, and that's how I got to this size of a box. I put the cupcake box inside of it just to make sure that the measurements were good, and there was a lot of room in it, so I decided I was going to make that piece be the top of the box. So this second part that I'm making is the bottom of the box. So I did the same 7½ by 7¾ panel, and I cut off 1/16 of an inch off of 2 of the sides, and then repeated the process. If you're interested in making your own boxes, I do have a pretty in-depth video on the formula that I just quickly tried to explain. So I actually have a pencil and paper, and I'm doing the math work out on screen. I'll leave a link to that video if you would like to see that and maybe get a better understanding if I'm not coming across really well with my words in this video. So I'm going to wrap the cupcake box up in a little bit of tissue paper, and that's going to keep it from moving around in the box, and it's going to keep it a little safe too. Put it in the bottom of the box. The top of the box just fits really snug on top of the bottom of the box, and now we're going to wrap it. I found this really bright rainbow paper at Target last week and just immediately grabbed it. Actually, there was a few happy birthday wrapping papers at Target that I grabbed. But I was so excited about this one. I wanted it for my daughter's presents. I got home, I wrapped up her first present, and I was so disappointed. This paper's so pretty, and it's also really translucent. Like, you could see right through it. So that was really, really disappointing. But since this is a solid box, I didn't have to worry about a logo coming through like the first present that I wrapped with this paper. Since this paper is so bright and full of colors, I pulled out a roll of white ribbon paper and I die cut it with the Greetery's Ribbon Maker Large Scallops die. This is an open-ended die that can cut repeatedly to make as long as a ribbon, as long as a paper ribbon as I want or need for my project. So I wrapped the paper ribbon around the gift box and used my scissors to cut off the amount needed. And then I repeatedly ran it through my die cut machine and die cut the ribbon until it was completely done. I attached the paper ribbon to the package using a little bit of tape, and then I pulled out a few products to start decorating the package with. So the first thing that I made was a tag, and I used the Tear Strips Tag birthday stamp set. Now, just a side note on this stamp set, as of right now today, it is on hold because there was an error in the stamp set and we didn't catch it before it got put in the shop. So it will be available within the next few weeks, I'm sure. They just need to get that fixed, remade, and sent to the shop. This stamp is part of the Tear Strips suite, so it does coordinate with the Tear Strips tags die, and then there's also Tear Strips banner die, which is what I'm going to use to die cut the sentiments apart with. There's also Tear Strips tag toppers that you can use if you want to add a little bit more color to your tags. So I die cut poppy cardstock to match the red ink that I stamped the sentiments with. I snipped the tags and the tag toppers apart with my detail scissors, and then I used just a little bit of glue to add the toppers onto the tags. I wanted a bow to attach the tag to the package with, So I pulled out the Greetery's Loopy Bow Builder die, and I picked 2 different yellows to make a yellow bow. I ran the die through my die cut machine 4 times, 2 times with each color. So I was able to make 2 bows out of those 4 die cuts. Each loop has a little circle at the end where you can add a dot of glue to it, and that's how you start building your loopy bow. And you can use as many loops as you want. It can be super full, it can be a super small bow. I mean, it's just endless options, and I love that about this die. I added a little bit of glue to the back of the bow and attached it to the tag, and then I put a small piece of score tape on the back of the tag to attach that to the package, and that is going to finish this project. I'm really happy with how this little box of cupcakes turned out. I do bake cupcakes quite often, mostly for my daughter's school, but they're not as cute as these little paper cupcakes. I will leave links to all the products that I used today down in the description box, as well as a link to my blog. And I would like to hear from you. Let me know what you think about these cupcakes. Is this a gift that you would like to receive, or do you see yourself baking one? I'd love to know. I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe. I will be back shortly with another video, so I'll see you then. Bye.